Good morning, everybody. I'm venture capitalist and company founders for the last 40 years. So I have a lot of scars on my back, a lot of experiences. In the last 15 years, I got myself very involved with Asia Pacific activities and opportunities with a big focus on China potential. So I try to practice East meet West because I believe that meeting the people, talking to them, being there, give one the opportunity to learn the potential, which is at the moment not fully exposed, of the Asia Pacific zone or region, with nearly 2 billion people, 2 billion potential patients, 2 billion potential customers, etc. During my 40 years of experience, I went through several financial crises. The last one, big one, was 2008, for those of you who remember it. But these financial crises were nothing in comparison, at least to my judgment, the crisis that we are facing nowadays, the post-COVID crisis. I would say that there are 5 major problems that we are facing, and I would love to discuss it in a minute with my colleagues in the panel. And if I try to list them just as headlines, I would say number one problem that I face is the anti-globalization, or you can call it deglobalization trends in politics here. You go to America, they say, make America great. What is make America great? It means I don't care about the world. I care about America only. You go to Europe, and Europe just issued, the EU just issued a notice that they want to restrict imports of medical products and maybe other products from China to the EU. Why? We want to build the EU self-sustain. You go to China, they are hiding behind the big China wall, and also restricting and encouraging China-made products to use only in China and make difficulties on imports into China and so on. So anti-globalization become a major, major problem for us, and we'll discuss it more in the panel in 1 second. The other problem I face is instabilities of the financial markets. At the moment, the global financial markets are unstable and depends on what President Trump will say every morning, which is different than the previous morning, of course. People try to avoid risks, and putting money into innovation, into early stage, involves certain risk. So the instability actually affect our ability to push forward the envelope of innovation. The third issue, and that's created, by the way, the fact that startups are really collapsing because they cannot raise the necessary money to bring themselves into the first immense level or into the pivotal study and commercialization of the product. The increased cost of clinical studies are also one big obstacle, because today to get a complex product, for example, heart valve, into the market, you speak about total cost from idea to commercialization, maybe $80 million, and that's beyond a typical venture capital capabilities, because the time also it takes to get this product to the market is long because of the increased requirements by the regulators. And finally, there's some point which has pluses and minuses, and this is the introduction of AI into medicine. This has a lot of advantages, but it's a problem too, because from reimbursement point of view, from corporate ability to cope with software, but while before that there were only hardware experience in these corporations, becoming a very long process and difficult. So these are the issues that we are facing, and I would like to my panel here, first of all, to introduce themselves. Maybe we start with Helen and continue. Just say one word, who you are and what you do.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. This is Helen Yang from Fosun Medtech. Fosun Medtech is the medical device and diagnostic unit that belongs to Fosun Pharma, which is a listed company in both Hong Kong and Shanghai Stock Exchange. So during the past few years, we did a lot of cross-border deals with minority investment, merger and acquisition, and also like the joint venture model that I will elaborate more in the next questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Can you hear? Okay, this is thanks. I'm Julia Yuan. I'm from the CCRC Medtech and also the Abida Medtech, which is a China company and also Taiwan company. So actually, our company is doing many focus on medical device. We are CRO to helping the startup company for the medtech startup company or the MNC company, global company, to accelerate their device to launch, to commercialize into not just only Asia, also globalization. For example, the European region and also the US. So thank you. Nice meeting you all.
And Cynthia, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. This is Cynthia Chen, representing Pulnovo Medical today. We are a pioneer medical device company focusing on two indications, pulmonary hypertension and heart failure. FDA breakthrough designated devices, and currently we have 5 robust global clinical programs ongoing with 2 FDA ID studies, 1 European pilot study, and our core product, the PADN, which stands for pulmonary arterial hypertension, has already been commercialized in China, Europe, and the Middle East. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to put the following question to the panel, because the three of you represent actually different aspects of the cross-border activities. So maybe, Helen, I think that your operation has to do mostly with the inputting to China ideas and products through joint ventures, through licensing, through other models. And you did it for many years, I presume. Can you tell us a little bit about the difficulties that you face nowadays with the changing environment, with the financial pressures, both in China and out of China? How you cope, and do you think that this model is still valid for what you do and for the global healthcare, if you will? Please.
Okay, thank you, Yuval. So I just mentioned that in the past few years, that Fosun is working actively in introducing the breakthrough medtech technologies into the China market through investment and the joint venture model. And the joint venture model is very successful, and which including the joint venture between Fosun and Intuitive Surgical from the United States, the joint venture between Fosun and Insightec from Israel, and also a joint venture with a Swiss-based startup company in the sports medicine area. However, we do find that it's more challenging making the deals in the recent years because of the geopolitical tensions and the potential trade war among the major economies and the tariff issues. So, but we still see that there is opportunity. So first, I would like to go to the challenges. There are 3 major challenges I found and we have encountered. The first is the financial stability and the challenge of the fundraising of the partners. Because some of the partners that we are going to collaborate was pre-profit and many of them is startup companies. And they face a lot of challenging in getting their self well-funded. So that also put some pressure from our side to make more comprehensive analysis of their stability from the financial perspective and the capability of their leadership in the fundraising. So that will set up more barrier for us to make the determination to collaborate with these companies. And the second is from China itself. So the central government now have published many policies that encourage the procurement of domestic manufactured product, which include consumable devices and capital equipment. So in this regard, when we start to do the financial projections on certain deals, we start to become very conservative because of the uncertainties. that also will influence the future ROI of this investment. And sometimes that our partners cannot, understand why we are so conservative, because they always have a high expectation in the China market. So sometimes this will be a deal breaker. And third thing is that just Yuval mentioned about the registration pathway. So we all take the FDA, registration pathway as a standard. But the currently situation is that the China FDA, we call it NMPA, they have to set like higher bars than FDA in certain medical devices. So it took like more cost and more time to get this product approved in the China market. And also that triggers us more investment from our side to get this product commercialized. So those are the challenges we have encountered. But, we always a big believer in China and its development. And the China market is too big to be ignored. And with our solid skills in the deal making and the financial and the government relations of Fosun, we sure have the confidence to make more deals and to benefit our patients. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cynthia, I want to give you the microphone now. You represent a very different model because you have a China innovation, which is very exciting, and you try to globalize it by raising fund and moving towards big clinical studies out of China, say in the US or EU, whatever. Can you tell us a little bit about the difficulties you faced in raising the funds for expanding the activities out of China?
Sure. So I wouldn't really think those challenges as difficulties, but it's just another obstacles that we're facing going global. The journey of PADN, which is our blockbuster products, started from 2009. So at a very early stage, we recognize the difficulties on three perspectives, from IP to data reproducibility, and also the culture and the transparency. To address the early IP foresight challenges that we have been encountered, we began to partner up with Watson Salsini for the past decade to build a strong IP portfolio. Only evolving PADN, we have got over 100 patents in more than 65 countries over the past 12 years. So that when we go out and talk to investors, they have been doing FTO analysis during each round. And I think they were pretty satisfied with the IP barriers, the IP portfolio that we were building. And the second part is the data reproducibility. So after today, Pulnovo has published over 1,000 clinical cases, including 700 to 800 clinical cases, add up with more than 300 commercial cases in China and Europe last year. What we were being doing is that we actually conducted another European pilot study, working with sites from Portugal, Italy, Serbia, Georgia, Switzerland, and many other European countries to replicate what we have been seeing in China for the past decade on all those Caucasian patients' data. And because we were busy preparing for the 2 FDA studies that going to be launched this year, per FDA request, we actually conducted another around 100 animal studies, 100 pigs animal studies last year in US, working with US-based CROs and animal labs, which again replicate what we've been saying on all perspective on our safety data on animals. So from a Pulnovo perspective, we believe, combined with clinical rigor and all the transparency and reproducibility of the data, the validation show travels both ways, not only from east to west, but also west to east, grounded in data, IP, and global patient impact.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, to you, the big component, the cost component in new companies trying to become commercialized are clinical studies, of course. Clinical studies are getting super expensive everywhere, more so in the United States, of course. And if you speak about complex product, it's even costlier because of the long follow-up required. How do you cope with a situation like this? And I want to pose a complementary question to you. You know, I mentioned before that we are entering the AI going into clinical, into supporting physicians, etc. So set aside other issues like reimbursement and so on that don't exist yet. AI is built on big database. You have to have a huge database in order to allow the mechanism of AI to make smart and correct decisions, not mistakes. So the collection of database, in my view, need to be global. We cannot just do AI in China and then different algorithms in the US. Can you talk a little bit about all these issues, how you overcome and how you envision young companies like Cynthia represent and Helen represent, how they can cope with it?
Okay, sure. So, in China, the past years is more heavily reliant, especially on the clinical data, is heavily reliant on the European or FDA study clinical data to approve the medical device. But since the 2013, the situation has totally changed. The FDA, the NMPA, the China FDA, the NMPA has established and launched the new policies. That means for the more restrict on the clinical data, clinical evidence for the product has been can be clear or granted the approval from the MTA. So having said that, there is most of the business companies has need to be rethink how to establish the clinical data, not just always running the clinical trials in European and in the FDA in the Western culture or Caucasian data. So now there is more voice and more strategize make company to think to run the global trials. So the China also launched like other countries, for example, FDA and European countries, they are accepting the overseas clinical data. So same as China also accept the clinical, the overseas, we call overseas clinical data. But there is a certain requirements for accepting that data for China registration. Having said that, that means if we can play ahead, that probably can reduce most of the the cost. For example, just like probably most of the audience aware, running a trial in the FDA, in the US and in the European is really costly. And then we can, as a company wise, to think whether the global, like pharmaceutical size, they already introduced through the global data can support most of the participant country registration purpose. So same thing for the medical device. They are also introduced global trial or regional trial, the Pan-Asia trial to support the multi-country registration purpose. So that will be dramatically reduce the cost of running the clinical trial evidence to fulfill multi-countries, expectation, for example. But the challenge is different, especially for medical technologies. There is not just like a pharmaceutical size. There is a different patient population, for example. There is a difference between the practitioner clinical practice between the Caucasian country versus to the Asian country. So we have to come to the consensus and the balance in the protocol design to ensure it's feasible not just only for the Western practitioner, Western doctors, also for the Eastern doctors. So this is also the challenging piece to come out with a feasible protocol, the investigation plan to ensure the trial execution part can be smoothly running, and then we can generating not just only the Caucasian data, also the Asian data to ensure to meet all the target country agencies' expectation. So having said that, that will be dramatically reduce the cost and also, to accelerate the country approval as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I want to focus a little bit the discussion for the few minutes left to us about this problem of globalization. And just to illustrate to you something, in the United States, President Trump is giving away hats. And on the hats, they say, "Make America Great Again." So I got one, I open it from the inside, it say, "Made in China." The hat's made in China. So that's kind of issue of globalization. But of course, I say it in humor. I would like to ask the panel to suggest how we can move forward globalization. And remember, when we speak about East meet West or West meet East, doesn't matter. It's not only China. It's only coincident that on the panel I have only China people, and I address the minister from Australia. Maybe next year you bring somebody to join this panel from Australia, because we don't know what happens there, too far away. So we have to open up to the other. There's Vietnam, there is Cambodia, there is so many other important sites where patients need help here. And this is not, I don't want to make it only a China session. So China, of course, happened to lead for a variety of reasons. But going back to the panel, how you convince people that that what you do in the Pacific Rim, let's call it, in your case specifically in China, is good, is acceptable, it's meet the standard. Did you face issues like this to get both a collaboration, clinical collaboration, but also to get joint funding? So Helen, maybe with all your years of experience, can you share with us how these things are today?
Okay, so I would like to start from several cases that we are now negotiating or we have just completed. So one of the cases actually is from Australia. We are now in negotiation with an image-based company from Australia, but with their core team, the algorithm team from United States. So when we discussed about the collaboration, that the algorithm team has a lot of concerns about the data security and how can we adopt the cloud-based database in China, and a lot of issues. So with this, in front of us, we have to first to erase their concerns with the proof of the with a strong proof that what we do is that we invite these people into China for on-site visit because they have never been to China before. What they think that China is like, what the city is like the old 1980s. So, but when they come to Shanghai and Beijing, well, they find that everything's fantastic. The construction, the transportation, and also the manufacture. So we bring them to one of our manufacture facility in Beijing, where we use the AI technology to speed up the scaling of the production to lower the down cost of the production process. That they kind of feel astonished because they have in their current facility, they are still like rely on majorly on the manual side. So we just say, okay, so if you collaborate with us, we can adopt this AI, this automatic production in China. Maybe we can help you to build a palette in China that you can leverage the experience in the United States and in Australia. So you have to always think from your counterparty side and how you can create benefit with them, not only in China, but you have to always be proactively to support them and with the experience that you gained in China among, in the business that you collaborate. So in this regard, and after they returned to their country, they became very supportive about this future collaboration. So hopefully that we can close the deal within 2 or 3 months. So speak about the joint funding side. So we have different models, because Fosun is currently well-funded group. And sometimes, if we see an importance about and also the opportunities of certain unique technologies, that we may accept some intangible investment from the IP side instead of cash investment from our partners. So that will solve a big issues in their concerns into making the investment like in the form of cash injections that can help us to foster the deals. So to be always be open up and not try to erase the difference, but to find a way to bridge the gaps, and also try to design a very flexible deal structure for both parties.
Thanks. Cynthia, you have raised money, I presume, from within China and also out of China sources. About the out of China sources for the fund, for the money you raise, can you tell us some of reaction of the people? Were they trusting the product, trusting the data you saw them, or questioning it? How was it? How you managed to attract investors from out of China for your innovation?
So what I have been telling my investor and all the potential investors that we are meeting today is that if you are looking for the best of Asian innovation, then it's Pulnovo and it's PADN. PADN is a flagship example of China originated innovation. We built upon our clinical success over the past 12 years, over 1,000 clinical cases. We achieved 3 FDA breakthrough designation device indication within 2 weeks. And we are the first and the only China origin technique being mentioned on the 2022 ESC and ERS guidelines. PADN success is not only built upon itself, it's actually built upon a proven legacy. So our technology co-founder, Dr. Chen, who is one of the top interventional cardiologists in Asia, he has invented a bifurcation lesion stenting technique called DK crash. Back to 2017, DK crash was again written and being recommended by ESC guidelines as level 2B technique treating bifurcation lesion patients. So our pathway and PADN's pathways actually followed what DK crash has been through. We are proving to the world that Chinese physicians and Chinese doctors, we are not only one of the clinical sites that you guys are doing globally. We can eventually define one of the industries and eventually move the treatment paradigm. So, I think combined with the right talents, with the right clinical validation, IP foresight, and cultural adaptability, eventually we can spearhead it and lead at least one of the industry and the treatment paradigm around the world.
Thank you very much. We are left only with 2 minutes. So I want to give you my opinion on this. My opinion is that it's extremely important that companies out of the Asia Pacific that want to go global should actually incorporate key opinion leaders and a board members from out of China. These people will come to China. My resistance from these people was always, oh, we don't know, we don't trust China, we don't trust India, so on, Australia, and the rest of the countries. But if we bring them and incorporate them in what we do, they are part of it. And by this, we can, in our little limited space, can break the barriers of distrust between the countries, leaving aside the big politics. This is one step, and I think the second step is meetings like LSI, which is in the Pacific Rim here, which is amazing meeting. I would bring few also of the clinicians, the key clinicians, to come here, not to talk about clinical aspect, to talk about how we build trust between the continents. That's critical in my view, and I want to thank and to bless actually Scott and the team here for doing this amazing work. So as a conclusion, we have only half a minute. I want to say that we have to leash the potential exists in the Pacific Rim. Huge potential. It's not listed. It didn't. It's only we see the tip of the iceberg. The iceberg is deep and comprehensive. A lot of opportunities, financial, clinical, and mostly helping patients. Because at the end of the day, while we do all this, we want our patients globally to be healthy and better. In Singapore heart, China heart, Australian heart, US heart, and Israeli heart, they are all the same diseases, no difference if you for who study anatomy. So your help to do this globalization, to push the recognition that the Pacific Rim and the main countries in the Pacific Rim can definitely contribute, and leveraging each of these countries with what they can contribute. So if we speak about Singapore, production is, to me, is first thing that they can contribute. If we speak about Australia, I would say early stage, maybe clinical studies, for example, and how we incorporate the whole this in order to get faster, cheaper, better products is the big challenge. So we just met the time, and thank you very much for your attention, and thank you, the panel. And I would suggest that anybody among the audience who want to talk to the panelists, you find opportunity through the amazing software system that LSI created. And thank you, Scott, and goodbye.